There you go, Gary. You're over there. Now we'll start this and we'll continue it for as long as it lasts. All right?
Okay.
Now
I'll try to save your time.
All right. Here now. See, look, we have. Okay. Now we're only going to make. You're going to make a move, then I'll make a move. Yeah.
And then
you go ahead and start. You go ahead and make the first move.
There's no bench to play. E4, I'm sure.
Damn! I'm screwed. Look at that. Oh, now what?
Okay, it will be even worse.
All right. Okay. And then it'll be a correspondence match. All right.
Correspondence match. Yes.
Okay. Here we go. Yo. Okay. Yeah, so that's it. And we'll continue this for as long as it lasts. Now, can you tell anything about my opening gambit?
Very bad.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just pretty much what you did. And you're like the world champion. Look, I did that and you did that. It's the same deal.
No, it's not the same deal.
Well, all right. How about that?
Better.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll continue this. Gary Kasparov. We'll be right.
Hello and welcome to A Chessima Checkers. We are about to analyze and understand the most important moment in all of chess history. Careers were made and careers were destroyed in the game we are going to analyze today. And you have already guessed it. Of course, I am talking about the epic and genre-defining game between Garry Kasparov, world champion, and one of the best, if not the best chess player of all time, David Letterman. And you saw that Kasparov was given the white pieces and he started playing pawn to e4. So he was given the white pieces, of course, because it's an advantage, and he was already playing at a disadvantage because he had to play against David Letterman, who is the possibly greatest chess player of all time. And we saw his strength already in the opening game, where he played pawn to a5, and Kasparov was extremely scared by this move and employed a psychological tactic in order to pressure David Letterman, which is something for which he's known. And David Letterman took him up on it, saying, okay, if you're scared, Kasparov, I will oblige. And he did something that only he can do. It's a special move you get in chess if you are high rank enough, and only David Letterman he's the only one to have ever obtained the high enough rank to actually change his opening move. And he did so, and put out the queen's pawn here in what is known as the Letternavian opening. And this is a great move. We're going to learn a lot about chess from David Letterman because it immediately opens up for the strongest piece, the queen. And it is also immediately attacking one of Kasparov's pawns. And he's super afraid. A good move here would probably something like f3 to keep the pawn protected. But he misses this, Kasparov does, and he plays pawn takes pawn here, which is a bit of a opening blunder, but we can forgive him for this. But the thing about Letterman's style and his understanding of chess was so great that he knew exactly what to do in this position to come out with the queen, the strongest piece on the chessboard, already active on move 2. So he has really trapped in the opening preparation here, in the opening skirmish phase of the game. He has really trapped Kasparov, and we can see now the queen centralized in the board. It can go to so many places. And after this move, Kasparov was a bit stunned and missed an opportunity himself to develop the queen, because you can see the queen can actually come out, but he missed this and instead put the horsey in play, and this is a way less powerful piece than the queen, which was immediately realized by David Letterman, who played one of the strongest possible moves that you can in chess here, where he moved the queen back to e6, simultaneously moving the queen, throwing the weight around the board, showing the power and the dominance of this absolutely unique and strongest piece in chess. At the same time, he gave a threat to the king. And if Kasparov doesn't watch out, he can come and actually capture his king here, Letterman can, which would immediately lose the game for the world champion at this point. And you can see how he is really severely limiting what Kasparov can do, because he has to stop the check, otherwise his king will fall. And will he find the move? You can see you only have 1, 2, 3, and 4 moves to stop this. So the real big question here is, will Kasparov notice? Will he notice that the king is in danger here? But being the world champion, this is within the realm of possibilities that Kasparov can see this, and he does play the bishop out. He could have chosen the queen here, but he missed probably that the queen could be developed already, but he put the bishop out to e2, temporarily blocking the queen. And just to give sort of Kasparov a fighting chance, we see the next move here, knight coming to c6 from Letterman. And he could have used the queen again, but you have something you have to understand about Letterman is he is also a showman. So you probably know Letterman, of course, from his illustrious chess career, and as you know, this absolute legend in the game of chess. But he actually had a side job, or sort of a passion, if you will, where he was a late night talk show host as well, and he was very much into like creating a good show and making the game and making everything enjoyable and exciting for the audience. And that is probably why he chose this inferior move, just to make it more exciting. Kasparov realizes something extremely important here in this position, namely that his queen cannot move. So he has the queen in a box here. She can't move. That is very, very problematic because she's the strongest piece. So he plays pawn to d4, opening up for the queen, finally getting a bit into the game, but he's lacking severely behind, and he will get even further behind with this like super cool, super precise move, where we see David's understanding of the queen and understanding of the chess game. And we're going to touch upon something maybe a bit controversial, because queen to g6 was played. This is just an absolutely insane move. The accuracy needed to play something like this is just beyond comprehension, really. But there was something controversial going on, because occasionally David Letterman would use glasses, and with the glasses on, he was able to see very, very far into chess, on the chessboard. So for instance, with the glasses on here, he could see that the queen here, well, she can go, of course, all these squares here, but actually she can go, look at this, how far that is, all the way down here, and actually threatening this pawn. And this use of glasses was a bit controversial because you are not allowed to use outside assistance or get help or use tools. You cannot use a computer. You cannot use like a machete when you play chess. Like there is, but this was a FIDE regulated game, and Kasparov maybe have missed a chance at this point to call an arbiter and see if there could be a resolution of some sort. Maybe a bit of a blunder by Kasparov, who again at this time to move is missing like the crucial point of the whole opening to get the queen out and try to fight against the extremely powerful position here of the queen. So he puts the knight out, and because he wasn't playing with glasses, Kasparov never played with glasses, he only used like a wristwatch, which was also controversial, but it's a completely different story. So he missed that Letterman can come in here, like with this super powerful move, capture the pawn on g2, being ahead in the material count. And why is that important, you may ask? Well, of course the queen is the strongest piece in all of chess. But what is the second strongest piece? It is the pawn, because the pawn can eventually reach all the way to the opponent's back rank and become a queen herself or itself. And Letterman is just seeing so far ahead into the game. He's already thinking, even though this pawn was so far away from becoming a queen, he was thinking about, in 20 moves time, could this pawn maybe become a queen and threaten my domination with my queen? Okay, I will absolutely stop that before it even happens, also known as prophylaxis in chess, where you stop a threat before it even occurs on the chessboard. Okay, Kasparov again misses a chance to move the queen, but moves the rook instead here, being protected by the knight. And actually, in this position, Letterman has to show a lot of precision here, because the queen, if you notice, is under attack. That means if she doesn't move, Kasparov could come in and capture the queen. And a lot of world-class players has fallen to this particular trap where you lose the queen. So you have to look all over the board and see if the queen is threatened. But of course, David Letterman would not be the player that he was at this point in time if he would not see this threat. And he does see this threat and moves the queen out here, where you notice she is not attacked by anything. He moved her here, here, here. All these like very tempting squares, she's attacked on all of them, but not here. So this was maybe one of the last points where Kasparov really had a good chance to put out the queen, but instead he does something very, very difficult. He goes into for like a very long-winded variation where he pushes this pawn, hoping to be able to capture here, here, and here, and make a queen for himself. We call it hope chess, because Letterman is going to do something about it. And we see actually here is a very instructive point, I would say, that Letterman moves the knight here, and then he turns the knight as well to face this direction. And this is a strategy as old as time, but known only to the players of the absolute highest spiritual level of chess understanding. And what this knight is doing, you can see, is it looks out here into the far distance, to the middle distance, and it keeps one of the eyes here on these two pawns here so that they will not sneak in to the chessboard and sort of infiltrate Black's camp. And all sorts of reinforcements could come from the outside of the chessboard, and that is why the knight goes here, to watch out for that. Also, he's also doing another thing here, where when the knight is on the side of the board, as they say, a knight on the rim will always win in chess, is on the side of the board. You can see it has 4 squares to go to, whereas closer to the center in the board, it has more squares to go to, which gives you more options to consider, which can make you confused. It can distract you from using the queen, the more powerful piece. So he's also limiting himself, focuses energy on the part of the chessboard that is most relevant. Kasparov is very inspired by Letterman at this point, moves the knight as well, but can't really get as close to the edge. For instance, here maybe the knight could have tried to help the pawns in, but instead he misses that and goes here with the knight again, and neglecting again development of the queen. And will David Letterman neglect development of his queens? I think not. So a long backwards diagonal move, which is, statistically, we know this, is the hardest kind of move to spot in chess. Long backwards diagonal moves, but he finds it. Trust David Letterman to find it. From here, Kasparov has like a bit of a lack of understanding of chess, maybe because he uses this bishop. He puts the bishop out, and you can say that the bishop is pretty good in a way because it's like half a queen. It can go diagonally like the queen can, but that's all it can do. So instead of using the bishop, he should have used the queen, which is more powerful, but at least he did get something out on the diagonal, sort of a bad queen maybe we have here. And from this point, Letterman starts to think, okay, I've sort of been a little bit OP with the queen. I'll do one of these showmanship moves again. And he puts out the knight to f6, sort of controlling the center of the board and just giving Kasparov like a moment to breathe, probably something like that. This is also a gambit in a way, because it's a trick where Kasparov sees this pawn, comes in to capture this pawn with a sort of vain hope that Letterman will capture the knight with his queen, and then he would lose the queen to the bishop here. But of course Letterman sees all of that and doesn't capture the knight, but like in a sort of Karpovian style, like boa constrictor, slow maneuvering style. He simply says, it's all okay. It's all okay. I'll just move the king. Why? Because if the king stayed here, you can see Kasparov could actually capture the king, which would end the game for Letterman. So he just slid his king over here, slided his king over here, being very cunning in the process. And now we're going to see a huge blunder from Kasparov. He moved, first of all, not the queen, but the knight into the center of the board. It could absolutely have gone to, for instance, here on h4, kept the look on these pawns, but no, instead it goes into the center of the board. And you notice what this is doing, right? Earlier we looked at this variation, pretty complex variation, where the queen could come in and capture the knight, but be recaptured by the bishop, right? But watch what happens when the knight comes here. The knight blocks the bishop from seeing the other knight here, which means that Letterman can now again use the tremendous power of the queen to come in and capture this knight for free. Just an absolute blunder, a completely free knight with no tactical issues or shots missed at all in this position. Out of a sort of maybe desperation, or I don't know what to say, we see the next move from Kasparov where he comes in with the knight and captures a pawn here. So okay, Kasparov did get a pawn for the knight on the next move, but of course the knight is much better than the pawn in this, when you consider the positional nuances of this very, very concrete and complicated situation occurring at this moment in time on the chessboard. And what was that with the knight moving, you see that the bishop here is actually undefended, and Letterman actually wanted to come in here and capture this bishop with the queen. But here we see, like, and this is also a bit controversial, or like one of the detractors of Kasparov, they say that like he wins so many chess games, and he really did, he was world champion, he really did win quite a lot of chess games because he was so freaking lucky. And in chess there is always these luck factors playing in, a lot of RNG going on. And in this position, actually, after some deliberation, the judges had to inform Letterman that this move was not illegal. It was not legal. It was illegal because by pure chance, when this knight came here, it was in fact checking the king, making it obligatory to get the king out of check, meaning that Letterman could not come in here and capture the bishop, which meant that Letterman had to move the king, but cleverly not coming here, instead going closer to the knight so he can capture the knight with the king. And Kasparov was always quick, and I believe like one of the main reasons that he was so strong and won so much, Kasparov, was that he was very good at judging the critical moment in chess. Like, when you get lucky, can you pick up that ball? Can you use that to your advantage? Will you capture it, or will you just let it slip? And you can see his pawns are sweaty, but he's not using the pawns. He's actually using the bishop to, in a sort of cowardly way maybe, coming in and capturing the queen here. And this is a bit of a blow for Letterman, but you know, it's like when you lose a bad hand in poker, you have to just stay focused, stay in the game, not curse your luck. This is the position you're in. Just imagine that it's like, oh, the gods put me into this position. Doesn't matter if it's luck or whatever it is. I just have to play the best moves from here. And he did. He played king takes knight, gaining a lot of material back here, being almost equal. And again, a lot of queen moves could have been made here, for instance, also like an interesting idea. But instead, Kasparov moved his bishop backwards here to incidentally also capture this knight, which was guarding the flank. And Letterman said, okay, I don't have a queen. What's the closest thing I have to a queen, which would be the bishop here, because she can move diagonally just like the queen. And he put the bishop out here to f5. And finally, after admittedly have gotten a bit of luck, we see some chess understanding dawn on Kasparov. He understands this is his moment. This is the time to strike, and he puts out the queen. Queen comes to d4, and just at the moment where she was actually needed back, because you can see the bishop is attacking here. Letterman realizes instantly, comes in and capture, and the queen no longer defending the pawn, and Kasparov loses yet another pawn. So if he has to make a new queen, he only has 4 pawns left to do so. And very tough situation for the world champion, who in this position puts the rook out to c1 to attack the bishop. The bishop moves back, and you may think that this bishop here could be captured, and indeed most commentators and analysts at the time were thinking that this was perhaps a rare blunder by David Letterman, and it was also very hard for the audience and for myself and most of the world watching this game to understand why Kasparov didn't come in and capture this and instead played this move. We'll talk about this in a second. But later computer analysis of this game has revealed that there is a tactical point here, that if the queen comes in and captures here, actually Letterman had this plan of recapturing with the knight. And that's a testament to the greatness of Kasparov, who sees this and instead activates the rook here, coming here, looking maybe a little bit at the king. And David Letterman is coming up with like a very interesting plan here. He's also developing his rook, but he's putting it on a central square, looking at this pawn. This pawn is attacked 1, 2, and 3 times. And you can imagine if this rook comes here with a threat on the queen, if Kasparov misses this, doesn't move the queen, well, rook takes queen will be very nice for black in this position. A bit of a blunder maybe for Kasparov here, who pushes this pawn and doesn't realize that this pawn can just be taken. But again, this lock, again this lock where just by pure chance his rook being on this square makes it so that this move doesn't work and is not legal, because the rook would be checking the king, and that is not legal in chess. So we see that the queen here, this has also been revealed by chess engines, is threatening to come down and capture here, which explains the sort of subtle move here with the pawn coming to b6. The pawn is now defended by this pawn, a nice pawn island. The pawn is attacking the bishop. The bishop will have to move, no time to move the queen, so no time to get going for Kasparov really, and the bishop comes back here, and as you can see, it's moving backwards. His forces are being pushed back in this position here, and seeing how we can gang up on this pawn here. Doesn't want to capture like this, doesn't want to capture like this. No, Letterman, it's like these sort of sneaky, nuanced, slow, positional moves that he's known for, where he would like make tiny little moves. You're like, what are these moves even doing? But like, if you really analyze it deeply, you can start to see the point. And what this is doing is that it is protected by the knight, and it breaks the queen's communication with this pawn here. So now rook comes in and captures is a real threat, which Kasparov, to his credit, sees and moves the queen in here solely for the purpose of defending this pawn. And that was actually a pretty nice move. Kasparov realizes that he has a good chance now to maybe even win this game, with the queen being this close to the king. And Letterman is feeling that a little bit. He's saying, okay, there's the squares here near the king that the queen is attacking. I should move the bishop back now to sort of plug that hole and keep my king very well defended. And at this point, it was a huge blunder by Kasparov, but also sort of a maybe fate, maybe the chess god Kaisa struck, pure chance, Kasparov played this huge blunder, but got maybe lucky again. So he came in and captured this knight, and this is a huge blunder, because Kasparov had correctly seen that this is threatening to capture the king, and that the king can't actually capture the queen because she's protected by this bishop. And he had also seen that this pawn, like it can't capture here because of this rook, it also cannot capture here because of this rook. So he had calculated all these all these options. But what he hadn't calculated was just how well David Letterman protects his pieces. And there is actually a sixth piece that was defending the knight that Kasparov, and I guess you as well, and me and the audience, and probably the engines as well, had missed, which was pawn takes queen, as you can see here. Pawn takes queen. And Kasparov lost his queen. Now the game is back for Letterman, this queenless position. And out of aggression, he was a very sort of emotional player, Kasparov was. And out of spite, he threw a check just to show his dissatisfaction with having lost the queen. So he looked at the light square bishop. He saw that the king was on a light square, and Kasparov put the bishop out here just to say, I lost my queen, but I'm still coming at you. And by absolute pure coincidence, when Letterman picked up the king to see where the king could go, for instance, here, we see that the bishop was actually looking at this, and also the king can't go here or here because of this rook that for no obvious reason is positioned in this weird square instead of on the traditional h1 square. And that actually concluded the game, this absolutely insane stroke of luck and RNG. And Letterman lost this game, which was a defining moment for chess. It was a defining moment in Kasparov's career, and he went on with the boost in confidence of having won this game to play a very important role in chess going forward. Whereas unhappy and dissatisfied with this defeat, Letterman turned his attention to other more rewarding games where luck plays less of a factor, because it is, and that's something we all struggle with as chess players. It can be very disheartening to lose to random chance like this, and so we haven't seen that much in the chess world from Letterman ever since this game, and it's of course an absolute beauty of a chess game. But it's a little bit sad that we maybe lost the greatest chess player who ever lived, David Letterman, from the chess world due to the psychological impact of this game. So that's the video for today. I only have one more thing to say. Happy 1st of April. And thank you so much for watching. And I hope I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.